Hello and welcome, it's Deborah from Attic Lane and you're at day 6 of my 12 Cards of Christmas series. I'm going to share as many different techniques and ideas as I can pack into each of these short daily videos, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to make sure you don't miss anything. Now let's make. These are some of the supplies that I'm going to use for today's card. It's going to be a combination of stamping and die cutting. There's also going to be some ink work in there as well. I'm going to use the tree from this pack and I'm going to use the snowflakes from the smaller pack. I'm using a white top folding card as my base, and I've taken a piece of scrap paper and I'm just cutting out some wobbly lines because I'm going to use these as hills. The yellow scrap paper is going to act as a mask while I take Versacolor cement and a dry baby wipe and add a very gentle smooth layer of colour just under my mask. Now I'm taking the lower part of that mask, which I've reserved, and I'm using it to cover over the inking that I've done on the base. I've chosen VersaFine Smoky Grey to ink up my tree, and I'm positioning that just below, by a fraction, the yellow paper. When I take the yellow paper off, it looks as if the tree is behind the hill. My little deer is die cut from white card, but if I put a white deer onto a white card, the deer would disappear. I don't want him to be a dominant colour, so what I'm doing is using Versacolor Umber and my dry baby wipe to add a very soft outline of colour around the edge of the deer. All of the colouring on this card is about soft focus. I don't want anything to be too dominant. That will come later, as you will see. The same cement that we used to create the hill is what I'm using now to add a soft bordered edge to this card. I'm using my powder tool just to go over all of the inked areas. I have allowed them to dry, but this is to be on the safe side because now I'm going to add the snowflakes. I'm using my clear Versacolor ink and I'm adding those in a random way throughout the branches of my tree. I've got some blue glittery embossing powder which I'm adding to the snowflakes, and I will heat set these. The snowflakes are the dominant element of this card. I'm using the snowflakes to create wonder. I'm going to add in some tiny little snowflakes in between the larger ones, and then I'm going to use a copper embossing powder. This pulls in the colours of blue and brown and craft, as you'll see later on, all together. As I heat set the copper, I'm going to try and capture that on camera for you because I remember when I first saw this, I thought it was absolutely magical, and I must admit I still think it's pretty clever. I'm using the heat gun underneath to try and help you see as they turn from powdery dark to shimmery copper. Beautiful. This is my craft card that I mentioned a moment ago. I've got some that has some gold foiling on it from this cardstock stack, and it's going to make a really good mat for my design. I'm going to glue it in place on my white top folding card with only a tiny sliver of a white border around the edge. Now I'm going to glue my design and I'm going to add that to the mat. This time there's a slightly larger border so you can see some of the shimmer from the gold foiling, and then that ties in beautifully with the glittery embossing of the snowflakes. My deer is the last thing. I'm not adding any dimension, I'm just using my quickie glue pen to add glue to the detailed areas, and then I'm going to stick the deer straight onto my card. It's as if the deer is looking up at the snowflakes falling from the tree. This is a black pen I'm using simply to add a little black dot where the deer's eye would be. This is Sea Breeze, some Nouveau crystal drops. They're almost transparent, and I'm going to add dots of those throughout the design, and then I'm going to use my Wink of Stella pen to go over some of the branches of the tree. Off camera I also added some Imagination Crafts Just Pearls in copper colour. All my card needs now is a sentiment, and I wanted something soft and gentle in keeping with the design. So I'm using this that says enjoy the stillness of, but I don't want the of on the end. So I've put my stamp onto a block and I'm going to mask off the word of while I ink up the rest of the sentiment in the same umber we used to colour the deer. Once I've inked it all over, I'll simply remove the post-it note that was covering the word on, and then I can add the sentiment to the base of my card. And my card is complete. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to leave you with some close-ups of today's card with a little music. I'll see you tomorrow.